The group that doesn't shower. This is the group that showers.
We love it.
I mean, I was gonna just stay right here. Well, there's 400 people over here and 2, 4, 6, 7.
Cool kids up front. They all group together back there. The younger kids. Younger kids, cool kids.
Oh, is that how you want to define it?
Right?
That's how I'm going to define you guys.
Right now? Okay. Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Doug, if you could just comment, I know he posted on his Instagram story about David White. Was that in practice?
Yeah, it was a non-contact, obviously. Unfortunate, just running a route. And he was having a really good offseason and wish him well now during the recovery. We'll get him back and hopefully everything, for him, is positive. But just happened last week.
And it was, obviously he'll be a candidate to be placed on reserve IR would be the hope for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, talk to Trent about that and definitely be a candidate for that. Yeah.
Doug, you mentioned last week that talked about how Trevor's been more of a vocal leader and all that. Have you ever been on a team with a really good quarterback who you didn't think was all that into being a leader? He's just a talented quarterback who could get the job done, but as far as leadership was kind of so-so.
You kind of lump all the great ones and all the good quarterbacks in that boat, I guess. They're good leaders in the locker room, off the field, with the coaching staff. And look, it's not about necessarily being all vocal. I mean, I played with, one of the greatest, in Brett, and he wasn't a vocal guy, but he just led by example and, spoke up when he had to, and Trevor's very similar that way. He speaks when he has to, but just things we've seen this offseason have been very positive that way, and we just got to continue to grow in that direction.
How much do you sense the way last year ended is serving as fuel for him? You know what it does for you, but I mean for him.
I think it's fuel, motivation for him. To compete this year, to stay healthy this year, to lead better this year, and maybe demand more this year. Those are all positive traits that can come out of something, as negative as the end of the year last year.
You're going into year 3 with Evan Ingram. What sort of growth have you seen from him over the time you've had with him?
He just continues to improve, just understanding defense, understanding our system, how he and Trevor are on the same page, and Evan's done a nice job just leading his room, him and Luke both. I mean, these are the two veteran guys in there, but Evan was a great addition for us, 3 years ago, and continues to really impress and really, he's another one of those guys that's taken more of that vocal stance, I think, especially with the offense, and he's also somebody that backs it up on the field. So he's done a nice job, continues to lead by example, obviously. And again, he's not always the vocal guy, but when he needs to, he will.
How important is it to have a good core of those vocal or non-vocal leaders on the team?
It's good, and I don't have to do it all the time. I don't have to yell and scream all the time or motivate. It's, when it comes from their peers, it carries a lot more weight.
Doug, how confident are you that you know what kickoffs are going to look like next year? And is there still some mystery?
Still some mystery. We're still working out some things, and it's good this offseason to really, I think, vet out what we can and can't do, with angles and blocks and, there's different types of returns and all kinds of things that we're continuing to work through. I think it's going to take, preseason games to really fully understand, what it's about. But I think for us, it's been good because we get all our guys out there and get some stuff on tape that we can study and kind of work through some kinks that way.
The Chiefs talked last week about not using a kicker for kickoffs.
Who's kicking?
It's a safe defensive back, right?
Safety, Justin Reed.
Yeah, Justin Reed.
But you guys could use Logan Cook. He can tackle.
Great idea. That's why you're on that side of the room.
Hey, a lot's made this time of year. A lot made this time of identity, who you want to be and who you are. Do you have a sense of who you want to be, and do you have a sense of who you are right now?
I mean, yeah, I guess yes and no to answer the question. I mean, it's early, no pads are on, and we're still working through. And this time of year, it's about the teaching, right? And really, I think establishing some philosophy, all three phases. I think you kind of, as a coach, you look big picture and kind of have an idea of what it looks like and what it could look like. But I think that stuff evolves. It really evolves too as the season progresses too, right? As you get into September and October, you're never a finished product, and a lot of things can happen, early in the season. So I think we're working through that right now.
In your head, what do you want it to be?
I mean, you've heard the guys talk a lot about. I mean, we've talked a lot about it. You definitely, you want to be a physical football team. You want to be a smart football team. You don't want to beat yourself. Obviously, those are all. I think three obvious traits that you want your football team to be, and then ultimately schematically, it just depends on kind of how the season goes and what begins to unfold.
What are you tinkering with this offseason?
Kicker.
Well, the kickoff and kickoff return. I mean, that's a big thing. I think we've been working some red zone a little bit more. And really, again, this is a time of the year where it's about development, it's about teaching, and it's about the fundamentals. And I don't think so much that we're tinkering with a lot of things, but at the same time developing our young players and seeing what you have and can they handle playing, getting snaps with. Let's say it's, a young offensive lineman. Can he get the reps with the starters? Or a D lineman, can he get the reps with, your starters, the secondary guys? So if there's any tinkering that goes on, that's probably where it's at right now with the personnel and the growth and developing those young players.
Are there any of those young players that maybe didn't play a ton last year that have stood out to you so far to this point?
The 2-3 on offense. You look at what Brenton's doing. You look at what Parker's doing. Parker's taking a really good step forward this year. He's having a really good offseason. Cooper Hodges coming back and getting opportunities out there, looking really good. Tank's another one offensively. Just where he's at, mature level and understanding the offense. I think defensively, Tyler Lacey taking another step this year, even though he played, a little bit last year. Ventrell Miller coming back off the injury is having a good offseason, and the way he's moving around, he can carry that into training camp. And then even just some of the young rookies, Jarian Jones is getting opportunities out there. Trey Prince is getting opportunities out there. And stuff like that. So, it's and that's all part of the development, right? That's all part of this time of year and making sure those guys are in a position to help.
Doug, you just kind of listed off all of last year's draft picks. How important is that first true offseason for these guys, considering last year you're going right from draft prep into jumping into stuff?
I think it's big. Going into year 2 for them, they've had an offseason to kind of rest and get healthy, obviously, and then going into year 2, there's confidence there. We understand their ability and what they can do, and that's the part that as coaches we've got to see, and plugging them in and see where they can help us, and because when you finally get down to your 53, it's all 53 are available on game day, and all these guys have done a nice job, this offseason. Even the guys that were injured, and missed the season, are all contributing and doing a nice job.
Compared to last year, when you made a cognizant vocal effort to spend more time with the defense to kind of divide your time a little bit, how would you assess so far? And especially knowing, like you said, the hope is that Ryan can handle the defense in terms of how you've divided your time?
I'm still, still involved really in all three phases. Again, this time of year, very confident, obviously, on the defensive side that Ryan, Ryan can handle that, and he's done it. He's proven that, in his career, and it just gives me the flexibility to spend time in all three areas and really get a good handle on where we are as a team and how we can, how I can adjust certain things to fit us.
What have you seen from Eric? I know he's been limited on field, but maybe some of the conversations in the classroom and stuff like that.
Eric
Armstead, yeah.
Well, he and I were just conversations on the field. I think he's going to be a really good leader once obviously right now it's tough for him because he's not out there, competing with the guys, but he's one of those players that you really don't need to see a lot because he's got a track record and a history there. But I think what he brings is that leadership. He brings a confidence level. He's been there. He's been at the top of the pinnacle. Been to Super Bowls. Been to NFC Championship games. He knows how to do it. And I think that's the part that I'm encouraged by. And he and I've had conversations already about that, and I'm just looking forward to him getting out there and really mixing it up with the guys.
You've spoken about the value of the experience of these free agents like Eric and Ronald. Even though it's early, they're still kind of learning the system here. How have you seen that applied so far in benefiting the team as a whole?
I just think, one, it gives you, I think, depth, right? It gives you depth at those positions, and it gives you flexibility to, especially in the D line, right, to move some pieces around, first, second down, third down, right, and where Eric can plug in. He can plug in an end. He can plug in as a three-tech. Trayvon, he can be an end. He can be a three-tech. So there's some. It'll be really nice once we get them all out there together, just to see how all that plays a part. Same way in the secondary, with Ronald, a veteran guy. He comes in here, competing for that spot and just really embracing the opportunity, but at the same time being able to lead some of those, because we got some young guys still at the corner position, and being able to, I think, show them, how to practice, how to study, how to prepare, are all things that guys like that really bring to us.
Besides David, healthy last week, no other injuries, and then do you have a timeline in terms of Eric, Gabe, and Roy, who I know have been kind of limited?
Yeah, I think, David's the only one that's the significant one. Those other guys should be cleared and ready to go for training camp.
Any absences anticipated today? On the field, absences?
No, thank you. Just Josh, I think, is the only one.
No TSA free issues this time?
Not this time. Camp's here.
Yeah.
Now, do you plan to do the mandatory minicamp the way you kind of did it last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Which is?
So rookies and young guys and all that other stuff, and most of the veterans get
Yeah, I mean, I'll be selective, with those guys. But again, it's about development and growth, and the more time we can work with young players, getting more reps, is beneficial for us as a whole.
Okay. Thanks, Steph.
Great. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Coach.
He walks in, we're ready to run through.
Big crowd today.
Yeah.
Big crowd.
How different has the lead up this season been for you with the new kickoff rules and everything like that? Can you just talk a little bit about how much more intensive it might be?
It's way different. It's been a different off season. Obviously going on the road and working out kickers and doing that stuff, and obviously doing all the the backgrounds on those. and then of course the draft, and then of course we get the kickoff. New rules changes my whole off season, but it's been a great challenge. It's been really fun. So many of the special teams coaches are former players and made a good living, like myself, on special teams and covering those kicks. So the fact that we can bring the play back, we're super excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun to kind of see how it fits and how it works. I'm learning every day, though. That's part of it, and so there is a huge off season. Has been set aside just for those two phases. It's way different. We're still using the same techniques, and that's what I'm telling our players is we're still using the same techniques. However, you still have a complete different blocking schemes. There's way different angles and different situations of how do you get to these blocks when they're only 5 yards away from each other. And so I'm learning every day. We do a kickoff or kickoff return period. The very next day I have, okay, guys, here's some new stuff we got to do. Here's a coaching point I got for you. This is what I've learned. And I have players come to me. I have great players that have great information. They say, Coach, this is a little tougher to get to. What do you think about this? Great. Love it. But we're exploring everything. My assistant, Luke Thompson, and I have really looked into it a ton. And even, a couple weeks ago, we had former Jaguar special teams coach Jody Camillus, who is a mentor of mine and a brilliant guy. I had him come down here and vet it and kind of look at it. And he liked a lot of it, but also gave us some good ideas. Try this, and what do you think about this? And so I'm trying anything I can to give these guys as much information, learn as much as I can, so come training camp, we're ready to go.
Will you toy with the idea of using a non-kicker?
I have a bunch of guys have already nominated themselves, starting with Andre Cisco. He's already campaigning, stretching his leg out. And so, yes, I've thought about it. We will explore it. Right now, I've been so focused on learning the scheme, learning the details of it. Obviously, with the kicker competition, I've been solely working on that. We will look into it, but right now we have not put anybody in there but a kicker.
How many XFL games have you watched before this became like the thought process that you were going to go there?
Probably like everybody else. I've turned it on, when I was home, in the past years and watched it briefly. But obviously this is more detailed. Obviously most of us all of us special teams coaches watch every clip of the XFL and try to learn from it. And you can learn some stuff. Some is different though. And our rule is quite different in some aspects. So I've learned a ton, but there's a lot more to learn with it.
You were watching it, did you go, I don't like that at all?
It was different. I think that's the biggest thing. You have to embrace it. It's different. Like I said, I covered these kicks and my traditional, what I think a kickoff looks like normal fans probably would. You have to put that aside because the reality is this play's going to go away. And guys like myself wouldn't have played as long as I did if I didn't have those two phases that are so valuable and so important to the game. So we're embracing it. It's different, but let's embrace the difference about it and let's get more opportunity. This is a cool play that, again, once we learn it, our guys are loving it. Dewey's so excited about this new kickoff rule just because he understands there's going to be that more opportunities to make tackles.
Do you think that what you guys do and how you approach it will change as the season goes, as you guys gather more info?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're going to learn. We've learned a lot this spring. We'll learn more in training camp. Maybe some in preseason, depending on how much people show. But week one, everybody's going to show their cards, and it's a copycat league. We're all going to look at each other like we do every other phase. This is nothing new. We're going to look at everybody else's stuff and say, I like that, I don't like that, or maybe this is just add this to ours. We like ours, but this is a little wrinkle I like. So yes, everybody's going to watch each other's like we do every week. It's no different, but because of the unknown, yes, we're going to learn a ton from week one, week two. Of the season.
Special teams coaches are a little bit of a fraternity. Is that you seeing more of that, less of that now? I mean, are you guys sharing ideas with this, or are you being secretive about?
It's a small fraternity, and we all have our own friends and our own groups. And I think there's definitely little pockets here of what have you seen, what have you learned, and any information we could share. Yes, there's definitely that going on. Yes, we are all trying to help each other because at the end of the day. We want a good product. We want this play to be successful, and we want it to be fun. We want it to be a play that the fans, the people that are watching, it's a cool play. So how can we make it as clean as we can?
Heath, you mentioned off the top that it's been a different off-season because of obviously the new kickoff rule, but also because of traveling around the country to identify the kicker. I know Doug has empowered you, and I'm sure you have in other off-seasons to go out and find a kicker, but why was this one different? Was it very much we're going to be drafting a kicker, and please find this next young up-and-comer?
Every offseason, I typically go out on the road for a handful of schools and kind of take a look at a position. Sometimes it's a returner, sometimes it's a kicker. So I looked last season as well. And just kind of depending on how it fits, do we see that guy that we really target, we really like, not only on the field, his talent, but what is it like, when you meet with him, you take him to dinner, you get a good feel for their personality. Does he mesh with you? And it fit right. We love Cam. I think Cam, when I worked him out, we loved him. The dinner I had with him was fantastic. And I just sensed that he was very competitive. I really liked what he was doing. And so I thought it was a really cool guy to bring in here. We liked the value in the 6th round, and it worked out. It's a great opportunity. Obviously, Riley's made some big kicks for us, so we have a great competition with 2 really good kickers. So, yes, it's normal, as any position or any coordinator goes on the road, takes a look at a position, and there's a bunch of years I've done that and didn't draft one. So it's very normal. But we really like Cam, and we thought it was a good opportunity to add to the program, add to the competitive position of kicker, and let's see what it looks like come preseason games and training camp.
What stood out to you about Keelan Robinson during the process?
Keelan Robinson was the guy that he was my number one running back that I watched. I loved him right away. You saw what he did as a returner, but I saw him playing other phases. So he has the ability to play multiple phases for us, whether it's a gunner, whether it's a corner on punt return, which he did some in college. But he's an elite returner, a kick returner, and he's actually been out there doing punt returns as well. So he's a talented player with very good speed, tough, physical. He does all the things we liked. And then, of course, I think he does a good job on offense, that the offensive guys were on board. They liked him as well, catching the ball in the backfield, doing some of the stuff he does.
What are your thoughts about Duvernay?
Love Duvernay. Duvernay is really good. Obviously, we didn't bring back Aggs, which was Aggs was an elite player for us. Love Aggs. He was really good. He is different than Duvernay. Both are all pros, really good players. Duvernay's elite speed. That's one thing I would say. It shows up. That one of the first weeks he was here, he was running 23 miles an hour. So elite speed. It really shows up. So we're excited to have him. He's a talented player, obviously from the Ravens. And I watched him for years, and of course he's always been good. So to be able to add him, and then with the 2 returners back there on kick return, you're going to need some other guys. So that's really good. Tank's done a really good job as well. So we have a good group, a nucleus of good returners that we're going to need this year.
When all is said and done about rules, if somebody's got a kicker who can just blow it out of the end zone every time, do you just do that?
It's a possibility, and I think there's so much unknown. Are you going to get bomb it out the back of the end zone? Are you going to get the normal hang kicks to the goal line and force your return? Are you going to get some of the knuckleball missile kicks to put the ball on the ground so the kickoff team can cover? We don't know what we're going to get, and so we've practiced all these. We've looked at them ourselves on our kickoff group. Can we do these? Are these effective? What's what's going to work? What are we going to see? We don't know. We'll see.
Are there any concerns at all that the preparation for the new rule is taking any time away from other aspects of the special teams now and in training camp?
I think it definitely takes a big portion of it. We have a good nucleus of core guys. Let's say on our punt team, Dewey's there. We have a really good group. Caleb Johnson, as well as Goss has played wing for us for years. So I think we have a good group. Yes, it takes away from some of the other aspects of the game, but I think it's going to be super important to make sure we know exactly what we're doing going into this, so we don't get surprised come week 1 on kickoff and kickoff return.
Everybody's got the same thing. Everybody's got to devote X number of time to this new situation, right?
Yeah, I think normally you traditionally have the majority of your time going to punt, and just because you're worried about a block punt, and that's so important to a special teams group, and we still are doing that. I would say punt is definitely just as emphasized as those other 2, but obviously something has to you have to pull back on something, and that's the nature of how I allocate our time, and not only in meetings but practice time.
In terms of coverage. I know you were pretty high on some of the young DBs that were brought in last year, from Antonio to Christian. What have you seen from that group of second-year guys, as well as this next group with Trey and Jarian and guys who could contribute?
Yeah, Antonio is a fantastic player. We loved him when we got him here. He was a really good gunner and four-phase guys for us last year. If he's not playing defense, we'll see how that plays out. He's going to be a four-phase guy. I'd love to have him play for us. I think he's probably too good a player. I'm concerned I'm not going to see him much this year because I know how good he is. So we'll see how that plays out. Christian Brazel's had a really good spring. Obviously we didn't see a ton of him because of injuries last year, but I thought he's had one of the more impressive, off seasons. And so I really like what he's doing. I'm looking forward to see what it looks like come training camp, real life reps, full speed reps, full contact. But again, he's done fantastic. And then some of the young guys, Jarian Jones has been really good. That's been a great addition. He was a guy that we targeted, obviously not only on defense, but for us. I thought he was a really good gunner, and he's been really, really good. So those guys have been, like I said, I like where our group's at with those young DBs, especially with that gunner position.
Why was it so important to bring DT back?
You love DT. DT, he not only is a great player, makes really good plays for us. His energy in the room, he's a team guy. The guys love him. It's infectious. You need that. You need those glue guys of just every single day. He brings a smile to the room, to the meetings, to the field. He encourages guys. He's just a leader in his own way. So to bring DT back, it's he's a great player, but even a better guy. So I love having him around.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Heath.